Sarah had a performance review coming up with an employee she'd been avoiding for 3 months. She typed the whole situation into free ChatGPT, the backstory, the behavior, what she was afraid of saying, and asked it to help her figure out what to actually say. 20 minutes later, she had a conversation plan that was direct, fair, and didn't make her sound like she was reading from an HR manual. The meeting went better than any she'd had in years. Here's how to do exactly that. The reason difficult conversations go wrong almost never has to do with how you feel. It has to do with what happens when you try to translate that feeling into words in real time while someone is sitting across from you, while your heart is doing something weird in your chest. You either over-explain, or you go too blunt, or you say something that was supposed to sound calm but lands completely wrong. And then you spend 3 days replaying it. ChatGPT, specifically the free version at chat.openai.com, no account drama, no subscription required, works as a kind of low-stakes rehearsal room. You can say everything you actually think without worrying about consequences, and it helps you shape that into something that lands the way you intended. That's the core of this. It's not about letting AI talk for you. It's about getting your real thoughts out of your head and into a form that's actually useful. Think of it like a GPS. You already know where you want to go. You want to address the problem, keep the relationship intact, and not walk away feeling like you handled it badly. ChatGPT just helps you figure out the route. And what makes it genuinely useful for this is that it doesn't have a stake in the outcome. It's not going to flinch when you describe the situation. It's not going to judge how long you've been avoiding this. You can be completely honest about what happened, what you're scared of, and what you've already tried. And it'll work with all of that. That honesty is exactly what makes the output useful. If you sanitize the situation when you type it in, you get sanitized advice back. Give it the real version, and it gives you something you can actually use. Most people open ChatGPT and type something like, "Help me have a hard conversation with my coworker," and they get back something generic and slightly robotic that they'd never actually say. The reason is that the prompt was too vague. ChatGPT is only as specific as what you give it, so here's how to give it what it needs. There's a simple structure that works every time. You start with the relationship. Who is this person to you, and what's the dynamic like? Then you describe what happened or what's been building. Then you tell it what outcome you actually want. And then you say how you tend to communicate. Are you someone who goes quiet when you're upset? Do you over-apologize? Do you tend to get defensive? That last part is optional, but it changes the quality of the response significantly. So, instead of, "Help me talk to my coworker," you'd type something like, "I need to talk to my coworker about the fact that she keeps interrupting me in meetings. We've worked together for 2 years and have a decent relationship. But this has been bothering me for months. I want to say something without it becoming awkward or damaging what we've built. I tend to over-explain and apologize too much. Can you help me figure out what to actually say?" That's it. No special formatting. No AI expertise required. Just write it like you'd explain it to a friend. What comes back will be specific enough to actually sound like something a real human being would say. And if it doesn't, and sometimes it won't on the first try, and if this is the kind of thing you want more of, Stack Future drops one of these every day, you'd just respond with, "That sounds a little formal, can you make it more casual?" Or, "I'd never actually say it that way. Can you rephrase it?" ChatGPT doesn't get offended. That's genuinely one of its best qualities. Here's where people tend to stop using it too early. They get the opening statement, they copy it down, and they close the tab. But you're leaving most of the value behind if you do that. Ask it to run through what might happen next. After you get your opening, type something like, "How might they respond if they get defensive? What do I say then?" Or what if they deny that it's been a problem at all? Or even, what's the version of this where I keep it really short and don't get into a back and forth? What you're doing is playing it out before it happens. Actors call this table work, where you think through the scene before you ever perform it. Athletes call it visualization. It's the same instinct. If you've already mentally walked through 3 or 4 ways the conversation could go, you're not going to get blindsided as easily. You can also ask it to pressure test what you're planning to say. Try typing. Here's what I'm planning to open with. Paste your draft. Does this sound accusatory or fair? What might the other person hear that I'm not intending? That one question has saved more conversations from going sideways than almost anything else. Because sometimes you write something that feels measured and reasonable to you, and ChatGPT will point out that one phrase that's going to land like a grenade. Better to know that now. This works for all kinds of difficult conversations, by the way, not just work stuff. Talking to a parent about something sensitive, setting a limit with a friend who keeps crossing one, telling a landlord something you've been nervous to say. Any situation where the stakes feel high and you want to get it right. One more thing worth doing before the actual conversation, and this takes maybe 5 minutes. Ask ChatGPT to help you figure out what you actually want to happen. Not just, I want to address the issue. More specifically than that. Do you want an apology? A behavior change? Just to feel heard? To clear the air so things aren't weird anymore? Type, I'm about to have a conversation about situation. Help me get clear on what a good outcome actually looks like for me. Ask me questions if you need to. That last part, ask me questions if you need to, is a small thing that makes a big difference. It turns ChatGPT from a responder into something more like a thinking partner. It'll ask you things you probably haven't asked yourself, and the answers will help you go into the conversation with more clarity about what you're actually trying to do. Because here's what tends to happen when you don't do this step. You get into the conversation, something unexpected gets said, and suddenly, you've forgotten what you came for. You end up either escalating or backing down completely. Not because you wanted to, but because you lost the thread. Knowing your goal before you walk in means you can navigate the unexpected stuff without losing your footing. ChatGPT can help you find that goal. It's surprisingly good at it. AI tools in 2025 are not about shortcuts. They're about doing the thinking before it counts, so when the moment comes, you're actually ready. Here's what it comes down to. Most difficult conversations don't fail because people are bad at talking to each other. They fail because people go in unprepared, say something they didn't mean, and spend the next week wishing they'd handled it differently. Free ChatGPT gives you a place to think it through before any of that can happen.